Now I want to introduce you to the investigations guide. So the first thing you can do is click on the open in a new tab icon. I already have done so. The reason I like to do that is I can then quickly go back to my previous tab and have access to all of the resources for the module. If I click open, it's going to replace this web page with my investigations guide, which is my teacher textbook. So the first thing I'm going to do in the online version of the investigation guide is click table of contents, and then I'm going to enlarge it. And this table of contents is live. So if I go to table of contents over on the left, I can quickly move throughout the investigation guide from this page. I can also do the same thing on the left-hand side. So I'm going to go over some of the tabs within the investigations guide. What you'll notice is all of the investigations are set up the same. So I'm just going to go over one of them and you'll understand how all of them are formatted. For the overview tab, in this section over on the right, you'll see the next gen standards that are met through this module. The next gen science standards are extremely similar to the New York State science learning standards. New York State added a few additional standards, but for the most part, they all line up. So it's going to give you an intro. Then I do like this overview. In this table, it shows us what's that summary for this investigation, the focus questions for the phenomena, some content related to the DCI, and then what are some reading and technology resources available for this specific investigation, as well as what assessments, what formative assessments are embedded, what eye checks are included as well. And later in this video, you'll learn more about the assessment piece. With FOSS, they have what they call a teacher toolkit, which is made up of 3 books. The first is the investigations guide, the teacher textbook. Then it also includes the interactive, or it includes a copy of the student book, which is the actual physical book the students have access to. Each kit includes 32 of those, and then you have 1 more in your teacher toolkit, so technically a total of 33. But they also, on ThinkLink, have the digital version, which they call the interactive student ebook, because besides just the text and images, it also includes short videos, text-to-speech, audio clips, etc. And then the last component within the teacher toolkit is the teacher resource book. This resource book contains pages that are white and then pages that are blue. The white pages are in the back. That includes things such as your teacher masters, your notebook masters, the assessment pages. The blue pages in the front, these are more like for, year 2 of using FOSS, but folios on next level FOSS teaching, how you want to use the notebook more. So it's kind of like more instructional guides for you, the teacher, to get the most out of FOSS. So those are the 3 components of the teacher toolkit. Then we have some, examples of those FOSS resources. So the student book, the technology that's available. So they also, besides those videos, the audio, the text-to-speech, also has fun games and activities where the students apply what they've learned. Notice the notes in the margins. Always pay attention to that. They also, if you keep flipping, talk about active investigation. That is what FOSS prides itself on. The students are engaged in their learning. If you are in the younger grades, each kid has their own supplies. They may be working with a partner, but to prevent some of the issues with sharing, they all are doing their own learning, but they might have a partner for support. As they get older, they might be in groups of 4 working together. So active investigations, students are doing the learning because what we know is as the students are doing this active learning, if it's memorable, they will remember it. They will learn it for later and be able to apply it. Over on the right, we see science notebooks. FOSS has really set you up for success because they always provide you with these images of what should the notebook look like. Every notebook is going to include the date, and then it may or may not have a notebook page. So, decide, are you going to tape those in, glue them, and then it kind of shows how the students may complete the notebook page. For the framework and NGSS tab, so this is the Next Gen Science Standards over on the right. These are very similar to the New York State Science Learning Standards. New York State added a few extra to a few grade levels, not all. So this is what standards are applied for the entire module. And later when we look investigation by investigation, it breaks it down. And so with the Next Gen Science Standards, there are 3 components. So the DCI, so this is your content. Then we have the science and engineering practices. And so these are, what are the students doing throughout? And then the cross-cutting concepts. So are they analyzing or looking at patterns, cause and effect, etc. And so those are the 3 dimensions to the Next Gen Standards. Materials. This is kind of one I'm going to hit a little harder. So if I flip the page, here is my inventory list. So notice the circled and starred, your class may need more of. Technically, they're considered permanent equipment, but that's really not realistic. What I like is it also shows you what's in drawer 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. So how is it currently organized? And the list is going to be alphabetical on the front of your drawer as well. The consumables. So these are things that are going to have to be replaced every so often. Maybe not every time, but maybe every 2 or 3 uses. Then if we flip the page, here are materials supplied by the teacher. So a lot of these are things that are very common in a classroom, so that's why they've said that they are provided by the teacher, as well as some of them are for outdoor investigations. Refer to your lesson must-do and can-do documents to identify if you will necessarily be using all of these materials, because some of the fun outdoor investigations are the can-do. Now you will have to prep for your classroom, prep your kit for your classroom. So checking your materials, there is some prep for each of the grade levels. So as I talked to Amy at FOSS, some investigations or some modules have a little more prep than others. For example, in the kindergarten earth science, they have cutting and pasting. They have some bulletin board stuff, packing up puzzle pieces and posters. First grade, for the air and weather, they need to cut all the strings for parachutes and cut straws for pinwheels. For second grade, bagging up their rocks, cut sandpaper into smaller squares, bag up their river rocks. For third grade, I'm only going over the earth science modules. Cut up the first 4 paper samples, which is, for example, the wax paper, paper towel, etc. You'll need access to ice cubes. And then check your thermometers. For 4th grade, you will mix up your soils, need access to water, and then set up your stream table. This usually scares teachers, but is fun for the students and is definitely worth it. And then for 5th grade, You'll need to put the straws in all the earth globes. You'll need to figure out where you'll put the lamp in the classroom, and you will need access to hot and cold water for the condensation and evaporation activities. So those are just some examples of the prep that you will need to do for the module. Every investigations guide will include a technology tab. So here it's going to tell you what's the technology for the students, technology for the teacher, etc. So if I keep flipping, it's going to show me some of the interactive activities or games the students can play to apply their learning within the FOSS ThinkLink program. If I keep flipping, here's technology for the teachers, just so that you can get started and be successful. Pay attention to the notes. Notice it says the ebook is premium content for students. So that ebook has extras in it compared to the paper copy text. So paperback for primary, hardback for intermediate. If I move to Investigation 1 and move to that tab, again, I have what New York State or what Next Gen standards, which are very similar to New York State standards, are applied to this specific investigation. And then I have an at a glance. We really aren't going to focus on this at a glance because you're going to use your must do, can do document for this piece. And so it's going to give you some background for the teacher because we don't expect you to know everything, which I find very helpful. And then it's the teaching the children. This is going to be based on age appropriate and just give you some information. And then it's going to, you're going to start getting ready. So they always say getting ready is easy as 1, 2, 3. So for your materials, 1 is find your stuff. So it's telling us what materials you will need. And then 2, prep the stuff. Give yourself 10 to 15 minutes to make sure all things are ready. Use those teacher prep videos. Notice the margins. It's showing you what you're going to need. So pay attention to those margins. Make sure your notebook, you have your supplies and you know how it's going to look. And then 3 is you're guiding the investigation. You're teaching the stuff. So this is where you will have the script. You'll use your must do and can do lessons to identify what steps am I using in guiding the investigation for day 1. Pay attention to the margins. You're going to see things for English language learners, reading suggestions and how it can be embedded, additional notes. And so once you've done one investigation, you'll notice all of the others are exactly the same. And just note, they're showing you exactly what that notebook should look like. Here's that ELA connection that I was talking about previously. With the assessment tab in the investigations guide, with this, they say that there's a lot of embedded assessment opportunities within the investigations. So a lot of formative assessment where you're checking on the student's understanding. But they also have, if you keep flipping, and with those embedded, you know, that's you working with the students. FOSS always says the teacher shouldn't be easy for the admin to find in the classroom because you're working with your students. You're not sitting at the computer. You're talking to your students. You're looking at their notebook entries. They also have what they call I checks, which stands for I check for my understanding. And so what they may look like, so here's a sample, is they have questions, and the students have to answer or show what they know. And so they have these embedded throughout. So for this one, this is an example of the I check for investigation 1. And so that's just a quick preview of the investigations guide for any module through FOSS.